Good morning. This is AM 1340 WGRV. I'm Reid Seals here with Greene County Mayor David Crum for our monthly conversation. Good morning, Mayor Crum.
Good morning, Reid. Good morning, Greene County.
First question up is, what was wrong with the U.S. nitrogen resolution, and what are the next steps?
The main thing is, I think the big comment about it from the legal side and from the county is once you have zoned something and changed that zoning to that, and someone has taken possession in this case, I think they have rezoned an area down there one time back from manufacturing to agriculture because it was never developed, nothing ever done with it, and the property owners wanted to change back. But in this case, you have a manufacturing facility that has actually taken possession and built a facility there. So it would be kind of like us undoing something. Well, it just really can't be done. I mean, you can do that, but they're already there. It's kind of the grandfather clause. They're there, they're in production, so you can't make them leave.
What are the next steps? Because I know there was a new resolution presented.
Yeah, it was referred to send it to the, and I'm sorry, I always refer to them as the debris committee, and that's not the appropriate name, but that's what we all know it as, for them to look at what action could be taken to send to the state and federal legislatures on to ensure that everything is in compliance, that it's being monitored as stringent as it need to make sure that everything is safe.
How will the tax increment financing plan help bring growth to Exit 23 in Mosheim?
Well, as I tell people, whenever that first tax increment financing occurred in somebody's development, that changed the future of all developments, because people need that kind of assistance in order to set up infrastructure and to get that development. So it's kind of the expected almost anymore. If you want something to grow and develop on a large scale, it may be a small business or something can do that, but the cost to put in all that infrastructure is just hard to do from a development side. So without that, I don't think the development would ever occur. And we look at some of the areas. I worked at Phillips Magnavox many years ago at Straw Plains, and I laughed and said, I wish I'd have bought all the property down there that I could have afforded in, because now we look at how Straw Plains has expanded, and then it had like a little pilot station and something else. So, and when you look at the distance, and our citizens of Greene County know, you look from Exit 23 to the next motel, I think there's one down around the Cracker Barrel, but that's just one, and then it's a good ways down to about 417, and this is kind of top of my head, or up to 59 or something like that going north. So if you're traveling, there's not a lot of places to stop and stay there. The motels that I talked to down there, I did call, their occupancy rates are low, 40-45%. And the reason the guy I talked to indicated is they don't have a sit-down restaurant. Well, I never thought about it because I've never developed motels and things like that. But if you're traveling and you're thinking about stopping, you want some place that you can stop, get settled in, maybe either eat a good supper or a good breakfast before you get back on the road for the most people traveling. So it's one of those, it wouldn't happen without it. Hopefully you get that one motel and a good sit-down restaurant. And as Tom Greene and I talked, as Mosheim looks at, Food City and all the grocery stores now are selling wine. So you're going to have that ability to sell wine in the grocery store. And I know people that live on that end of the county, and a whole lot of them drive down to Hamblin or maybe even over to Hawkins. So by having that, and we put in maybe a grocery store, the people that work down there from Hamblin and Hawkins may stop there to pick up their groceries and things on the way, or maybe people that live that way, they're driving on down, will stop there. So I think it has a lot of potential if everything comes together, and it's kind of like that. And right now, the economy seems to be doing pretty good. People are optimistic. It's growing good, so we just have to hope that stays there. I mean, if 2008 hit, then it's probably a project that's not going to go forward. But as long as things are falling together, So hopefully that will help, and that'll be the entranceway from northbound travelers into Greenville, Greene County.
And with the passing of the TIF, 2 hotels have committed and a sit-down restaurant.
Yeah, that's what the developers told us. So,
according to the developer.
Yeah.
I'm sure you followed this to an extent, but what is your opinion on the master facility plan options for Greene County schools? And do you think any of them are feasible money-wise?
I have followed it, and from my 3 years of experience in office, from what my opinion is, I guess I would say that I would be for one consolidated high school with the technology center at that site. Our future jobs, and we see them so much around here, is in advanced manufacturing, welding. It's hard to find good plumbers. It's hard to find good electricians. And those are really good long-term jobs. And young people are not willing to give up that classroom time to go to the Center for Technology and take that time out of their day. You're talking a 2,000 student comprehensive high school. That's easy to manage. It's easy to develop. You put the architectural plan, the safety plan, and all that into it up front in the plan. Then you can put together a high school that can provide the academic needs for those students that may be going on to junior college or a 4-year or even more education. And you can have an on-site for a tech center that is right there in place, where the student that may think, I'm not sure if I want to go to college or not, I'm taking some of these AP classes, but I'd like to take welding, and goes over and finds out, oh, I really like welding. And so I think, in my opinion, that is the best long-term proposal for Greene County, is that one comprehensive high school with an on-site tech center. Now, what the future will hold and how long it'll take, as I said, I think Sullivan County was committed to doing something, and it took almost 5 years. That's why I was really hoping this last budget process, and we can back up a little bit, where it was a 10-cent property for general fund and expenses, that we would have implemented a 10-cent property increase just for capital schools projects, because then we could have focused that money, put that 10 cents in the bank, had it there, so that whether we build 1 or 2, we would have had, basically $1 million a year put in the bank back to buy property, do architectural plans, do core samples, do the engineering, and maybe do some site prep by the time we get ready to do something, if we do. If we don't, then we've just put some money in the bank to help improve and do repairs and things to schools or whatever, because it would be held in reserve with the commission controlling those purse strings. That didn't happen. I really wish it had, because I think that would have been really forward-thinking in planning for this, and would have already had somewhat of a funding source. It won't fund it all, but you'd have had a funding source in place. And they're not talking doing all this at one time. It'll cost, but do we want to invest in the education of our kids to try to train them and educate them to keep them here in our community, or are we willing to continue this, sourcing out that so many of our young people are leaving our community?
Are there any updates that you can tell us on the opioid lawsuit?
No, I really can't. I mean, that's one of those things that's going to take, years down. And times whenever I had a conversation with somebody the other day that was in a legal battle, I said, look, you just have to trust your attorney that they're moving forward and doing, because it's in their best interest to move this thing forward also.
Can you tell us anything about the clerk and master office suing the county?
Not much, other than it's public record. They have an attorney, the clerk master does. The county has representation, and our choice is to allow our attorney to make any public comments regarding that lawsuit.
Okay. And tell us what's coming up here in Greene County this month.
We've got a lot of things coming up, but we actually just experienced something that, had a whole lot of buzz going around the eclipse. Had a lot of people talking, a lot of excitement. I was at work. Somebody had glasses, so I'd kind of step in and out a couple times and see that. So it was an exciting time. where my wife works, they had to rearrange some schedule to see for during lunch, and they had a lot of people had the party with the moon pies, the sun chips, the sun kissed drinks, and that thing. So so it was kind of a fun day, I think, for people also, but also hopefully educational for some of our young kids, and get them interested in some of that science that comes back to the education. The science, technology, engineering, and math is the future, and we've got to educate them not just for college, but in the workplace. They have to understand that math skills that to be able to take into advanced manufacturing. Did look at some of the activities. The Astros don't have a lot of games left, so you might want to check their schedule if you want to catch one there. I think check the schedule to make sure, but I'm thinking Monday or Tuesday is the last game, and they're going to have big fireworks that night.
I think it's at least the last home game. I'm not sure if it's...
Yeah, thanks. Yeah. Last home game, there could be playoffs and things in some way. Capitol Theater's got a Midsummer's Night Dream going on this weekend or so, and I thought I saw it on y'all's website, but I couldn't find it. I think this is and I'm going to test your knowledge of Greene County and a whole lot of people's, because the Snuff Ridge Tiger Town reunion.
This Saturday.
Yes, at Tearing Oaks from about noon to 4. My question is, do you know where Snuff Ridge and Tiger Town is?
I do not.
We have a lot of communities that we know of and hear of, Midway, Mohawk, but a lot of communities that go back in time. But Snuff Ridge, I understand, was the area up around Barton Ridge Road.
Okay.
And Tiger Town was the area around where the bean barn is.
Oh, okay.
And you had Stump Town was the area used to be called over behind where the rescue squad building is. So you've got a lot of little areas here in town. But, yeah, they're having their reunion. But that's one that doesn't always – people have to think, well, where was that at? So that they're having their get-together, and it's interesting. But a lot of sports. School's back in session. You got the Friday night lights, soccer, volleyball, and cross country. So, but everybody just have a good month, stay hydrated, and use sunscreen out there. And we still got a lot of summer and hot weather left.
Oh, yeah. Well, I want to thank Mayor Crum for joining us here today on AM 1340 WGRV. I'm Reid Seals, and we will see you next month with another interview.